2011s are not for you. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Trench Grenade channel. I am your host, the average 2011 hater that your mom said that we have at home. Thanks for watching. Guys, the purpose of today's video is we're going to be discussing 2011s for duty use and concealed carry. I'm going to give you some thoughts that I've been thinking about over the past week or so on 2011s and just kind of where I think they fall in 2025 for you, the viewer, watching this, right? And I want to start this video off with a couple stories that might get you thinking in the right direction. If you're a law enforcement officer, a soldier, or just a prepared citizen and you're watching this and you're concealed carry at 2011, I'm going to give you some things to think about for that journey. Before I tell you those stories, like the video, comment down below if you've ever had any good experiences or bad experiences with a 2011. I'm sure guys will be down there discussing why I'm right or wrong, or why Glocks suck or Glocks are great or whatever. We'll see all those comments down below. But let's get into story time. If you want to support monetarily, by the way, and you want to support the project and help me buy more of these bad Larrys, because apparently SIG's magazines are $1 billion, right? They're like freaking $50 a pop. Anyway, let's get into it. So 2011's for duty. Here's the story. I want you to imagine you're either a law enforcement officer or you're a soldier and you're on a patrol and you have a staccato 2011 holstered up in your Safariland holster. Your element takes a casualty and you must evacuate said casualty using a medevac, a pretty routine 9-line medevac. A UH-60 or a CH-47 aircraft lands near your location, but in the process of that aircraft landing, they kick up a ton of rotor wash. You go down. Later on in the patrol, your rifle goes down and you have to transition to your secondary weapon. And guess what happens? I'll tell you what's going to happen. This weapon is clear and safe, okay? I'll tell you what's going to happen. You're simply going to pull that weapon out and you're going to get a click, no bang, because there's going to be a ton of sand and debris preventing the hammer from falling. Okay, let's say that doesn't happen. Let's do another example. You're on a patrol, whether you're a law enforcement officer, you're a soldier, or you're just a regular dude. I'll use a different holster as an example. Let's say you're either outside the waistband, or for whatever reason, you're outside the waistband carrying. You get into a hand-to-hand scuffle, and you fall down. Now, let's say in this example, you fall down on your firing side, your right side, and the gun goes off into your leg because the guns are not drop safe. Okay, that Series 70 guns are not drop safe. So that is another example of something that can happen. Let's do one more example. You're on a patrol. Let's say you got your 2011, boom, however you're carrying it, whether it be on a chest holster because you're mechanized, whether it be on a hip, or whether it be concealed carry. You fall down. You're in some sort of whatever terrain, you get in a scuffle, and you fall down, and now the gun is covered in mud, covered in water, soaked. The gun is soaked. There's sand everywhere. Which gun would you rather have? Be honest. This Glock is clear and safe. Which gun would you rather have? Would you rather have a Glock 19 or something like it? Okay, here's a Glock 19X. Would you rather have a Glock 19 that's going to actually work in that scenario? Would you rather have a Beretta M9A4 that's going to actually work in that scenario? Just pretend like all these guns are holstered up, right, for the same example. But yeah, which would you rather have? Would you rather have the staccato that's definitely going to fail you? No shade on staccato. Or would you rather have some sort of striker fired or double action, single action gun that is tried and true and proven, that's going to actually work when you need it to work, like a Glock? So now that story time is over, let's get into some of my talking points that I have kind of been thinking about here lately. For you, the average dude watching this, just like me, right? Whether you're concealed carrying the gun, or if you're, hopefully not, but if you're a law enforcement officer carrying a staccato for duty use, you might want to watch this video and consider the things we're about to discuss. Okay, so first thing we're going to talk about is price point. A average 2011, right, a staccato or whatever, costs around $2,500. The magazines are about $60 to $65, give or take, right? So to get a bunch of these bad Larrys, to be able to go and actually train, now you're dropping $300 to $400 just to get a bunch of magazines, okay? For the same cost as the $2,500 gun itself, and then you got to put a $400 to $500 optic on it, okay? Like this one has an optic. Now you're starting to get up there in price. Now let's look at the adverse. The adverse of that is, okay, I have a Glock. I can buy a freaking ton of these magazines that are cheap, okay? You're looking at like 25 bucks, 30 bucks for a ton of magazines, right? You can get them for cheaper, obviously. Get a bunch of durable mags. They're more durable than the Staccato magazine, so you already have a better track record there with the source of feed for the actual duty gun that you've chosen. And you can get 5,000 rounds worth of ammo, a ton of magazines, and the gun itself, and a light for the cost of just the cost of entry for one of these. You guys see what I'm getting at? This is not going to be new news for a lot of you. A lot of you have been justifying trying to buy a Staccato, whether you're law enforcement or civilian, whatever, it doesn't matter, okay? You're trying to justify this purchase. You're trying to say, Trench, I need it. It's going to make me a better shooter. We're going to get into that in a second. But you're trying to justify, okay, I need the Staccato. It's going to give me faster splits. It's going to be better. It's going to be the best gun in the world. The trigger is going to be amazing. And for guys that actually shoot, when you're shooting fast, right, you're not actually going to notice the trigger that much. Compared to a Glock or a freaking SIG or a Beretta, you're not really going to notice it that much, in the actual firing process, pre-shot, shot, and follow-through. So that's one thing to note. So the price to performance ratio just is not there for the vast majority of you watching this, myself included. If you are a really, really good Glock shooter, then you will be a better Staccato shooter. However, the trade-offs do not the pros do not outweigh the cons. You will have a more reliable, better track record, etc. with a Glock with a much lower cost of entry, so you can actually train with the guns and do more things on the range, etc. Okay. So now that we got over, the price point, that goes for a Beretta too. These are like $1,000. Give or take, right? Wherever you M9A4, you could get an M9A4 and a ton of Metgar magazines, and guess what? Now you're out training for a lot lower price point than you would be with a Staccato. Okay, so we talked about price. Next, I want to talk about reliability. I've already hit this a little bit, but let's really think about the reliability aspect. We all know that a Beretta M9, whether it be an M9 or an M9A4 or M9A3, this thing is going to work a lot more reliably than a Staccato, okay? And I say Staccato, I mean 2011. When I say Staccato, I mean 2011. We all know that a double action, single action, okay, this gun is clear. Single action goes, let's say it's a click, no bang. Guess what you could do? You could just fire again, and if you had a light primer strike, it's gonna go off, okay? The risk of having any sort of malfunction due to the open slide design on an M9, the risk is a lot lower, okay? It's reduced. So double action, single action duty guns, like a SIG P226 or a Beretta M9A4, you're going to have a lot better luck with that double to single action pull, and longer. We're going to get into longevity of the actual platform, but it's going to work longer. Good. It's going to work better for longer. Let's talk about Glock, okay? It's the elephant in the room. I know for a fact this gun is going to way outlast this gun. Okay, this Staccato. We all know that. You know that. So why would you make the conscious decision to have something that works good, like legitimately works good, like this Glock 19? I think this is a 19X is how I have this one set up. Yeah, longer frame. Why would you ever make the conscious decision, as far as reliability, to choose a 2011 pistol over a striker-fired tried and true gun? The performance is not going to outweigh it. Your striker-fired handgun performance is not going to be so outweighed by a 2011 that you should make that conscious decision to go from a known quantity like this gun to a unknown quantity like this, okay? Just my 2 cents. All right, moving on from reliability, because we could talk about that all day. And there's other guns you could name. Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 is in that category as well. SIG P226, Beretta, etc. Right? All those guns will be way better than any 2011 for duty use. And we've already talked about the magazines, but you also got to think about the magazine reliability behind the guns we're talking about. The STI magazines had issues, right? And now the Staccato mags are the gold standard for the 2011 world, and even these magazines have issues. I've documented issues with this 20-something round Extendo, whatever magazine for competition use, right? All right, moving on. Safety. So much to say about safety that I'm not even going to say that much. You guys already know. yes, there are a lot of safety features like a grip safety, a manual safety, etc. Right? There's safety features on a Staccato or on any 2011. However, they are inherently less safe. Okay, less safe than using a striker fired or double action, single action gun such as a Beretta. Okay, so just understand, just because there's more safety features on a gun, they're not drop safe. And someone's going to be like, but Trench, now they have the Staccato HD. That gun's unsafe because it doesn't work right. Now you see what the issue is? So the Staccato HD is unsafe because it won't even work reliably. So why are we going to transition from the Series 70, older Staccatos like this one? Why are we going to transition from this to the Staccato HD if the old ones, right? The old ones were not drop safe. The old ones had issues. We all knew that. And then the new ones, the Staccato HDs, they just don't work at all due to the magazine and due to the feed, the angle of feed and everything like that. All the issues that have been reported with those. So why are we trying to fix this problem? The problem has already been solved for us. Boom, striker fired world, right? Striker fired world, like the Glock, specifically Glock, right? For all the cops watching this that are carrying a Staccato for work, rethink it, my opinion. All right, let's talk about duration of use. In my experience, I have a ton of Glocks, I have a ton of Berettas that I've used. My experience with those types of guns have been a lot less troublesome than this thing. This thing has given me a lot more issues, both with magazine issues, right? Durability, reliability. After the 1,000 round mark, the gun starts to get super sluggish, okay? You have to actually maintain it properly, and I do maintain my weapons properly, but over time, when you're shooting your freaking 2011s at probably the 1,000 round mark, easily the 1,000 round mark. I've had range sessions where at the 400 round mark, you can noticeably, after you fire, you can feel it go back into battery. It'll go, make sure this gun's clear. Okay, it'll go bang, and guess what? It'll slowly freaking reciprocate. That is not a duty gun, in my opinion. And a lot of guys are going to be like, but Trench, I maintain my gun every 2 rounds. I fire 2 rounds and I break it down. Let's talk about maintenance on a 2011. A lot of you guys watching probably would prefer the maintenance pattern of a Glock because we call it the dummy mark for a reason. When you take the, I can't really show it, but when you conduct weapons maintenance on a 2011 or 1911 platform, a lot of guys have issues even assembling them and reassembling them properly every time. Yes, it's a serious problem, right? Whereas opposed to a Beretta, you can freaking break this thing down, maybe. You can break this thing down like instantly, and guess what? We're already ready to clean, ready to do whatever we need to do, and then when you're done, guess what? You just freaking reassemble it, boom, functions test, and we're good to go, okay? So, yeah, freaking the maintenance scheduling is a whole different thing, duration of use, etc. Confidence and track record. Yes, the 1911 was used for, in both world wars. However, the track record, in my opinion, this is where all the FUDs are going to freak out. The modern track record is against the 2011 platform. The Prodigies are trash. STI had to rebrand because they were so bad. You got everyone out here trying to, like Bull Armory, trying to make copies. You got Staccato basically admitting that the Series 70 guns were bad, so now they made a new gun. They made the HDs with the Glock mag, and the Glock mags are bad. It's a whole deal, right? So, and guys that want to run just a regular 1911, those dudes are even worse because we know those guns are boat anchors and outdated, and they're still trying to justify it. So, anyway, I digress on that. As far as track record, for you, I recommend a Glock 19, Glock 19X, Glock 17, Glock 47, you name it, Glock 34. Okay, last thing, trends. You got to look at trends, okay? The reason why 2011's got so much hype is because of YouTube and social media. The hype train went up, and then when the guns started having issues, or guys wanted to shoot competition, so what did they do? They went and got a 2011, and then what a lot of guys realize is I kind of miss the simplicity and the reliability and all the things with the Glock, right? Magazines, can buy a bunch of them, all the things I've talked about, right? So you got to look at the trends in YouTube and understand, don't follow the trend so close that you get burned, right? And I'm guilty of it. We're all guilty of it. But I think the 2011 was a bad trend that a lot of dudes jumped on that bandwagon. And then now look at them. Now everyone's trying to jump off that 2011 train, okay? So in summary, guys, if you find yourself on a dismounted, patrol, or you're in a Bradley fighting vehicle, I guarantee you would not want to have a 2011 with all the dirt. It's not going to work, okay? The mud, the rain, you name it, the 2011s are not going to work. That's why the Marine Corps, right, went away from the 1911 because when they got the MARSOC, the 1911s, right, the 45s, they had so many issues that the dudes requested Glock 19s. And guess what they're using now? Glock 19s, okay? So all that to say, if you're carrying a, and I'll just kind of holster this thing up for you. If you're carrying a 2011 for work in a holster like this Safariland with your light and everything on it, probably with a hood for level 3 retention, not just level 2, but if you're carrying this, I would just look at yourself in the mirror and be like, is this gun really going to work in all scenarios compared to the competition? Okay? That's my thoughts on the 2011. You guys will freak out down below. That's okay. If you want to support the channel, like the video, comment down below your thoughts on this, conspiracy theory or just my thoughts, I guess. If I'm way off base, I'm sure you guys are already typing right now, okay? Thanks for being here, and until next time, this is going to be Trench Grenade, your average. Literally, an M9 or Glock is better than any 2011 enjoyer, but your mom says we have it on signing out. Cheers.